$9. That's what GM saved per truck by quietly downgrading a sealing component in 2004. Multiply that across millions of trucks and you understand the boardroom math. Now multiply it across 120,000 miles under your hood. You end up with $2,500 to $5,000 for failures that the $9 part was engineered to prevent. This wasn't bad luck, it was a chain reaction, and the engine is where it starts. Active fuel management arrived on General Motors' 5.3-liter V8 engines in 2005, promising better mileage without compromise. The reality was different. The lifters, Delphi AFMDOD units, became notorious for failure. General Motors tightened the bore finish tolerance and lowered the oil pressure window from 27 pounds per square inch to 22 pounds per square inch, making the internal lock pins inside each lifter prone to sticking if oil flow dropped even briefly. When that pin sticks, the cylinder dies and a misfire code, often P0300, lights up, usually between 80,000 and 120,000 miles. By 2014, General Motors issued a technical service bulletin instructing dealers to replace the entire lifter set, guides, and VLOM if a collapse occurred. A standard lifter job in my shop runs $2,500. If the camshaft is damaged, the bill jumps to $4,500. If metal shavings reach the block, replacement can top $12,000. I have watched owners arrive stunned, their trucks towed in at 90,000 miles, holding invoices they never expected. General Motors' own warranty data from 2007 to 2013 showed up to 25% of first-generation AFM trucks needed this repair before 100,000 miles. Some owners try to sidestep disaster with the FM disabler kits, like the AG001 Pro fuel injection device. Plugged into the OBD2 port, it locks the engine in V8 mode for about $150. It can reduce failures by a third if installed early, but once a lifter collapses, the damage is done. A $9 design change became a repair that can total the truck. GM did not just gamble with lifters. The intake manifold gasket, responsible for sealing coolant passages as well as air and fuel, became another casualty of the 2004 cost reduction push. Before the change, the original gasket was a fiber-reinforced paper with a silicone bead, part number 27 to A07473A1, proven to last well beyond 100,000 miles when paired with the old green coolant. But as soon as Dex-Cool was mandated, GM switched to an upgraded gasket, metal core with a graphite or epoxy composite, now labeled 278074773A1R. The supplier consolidation memo from that year spells it out, 3 legacy designs cut to 1, with a $12 per unit savings. The reality in the field? That new gasket might resist Dex-Cool's chemistry on paper, but the failures started rolling in around 80,000 miles. External coolant leaks, white smoke, loss of coolant with no hose damage are classic symptoms of a compromised lower intake gasket. GM's own technical service bulletin, TSB 0206010009, tells dealers exactly what to look for and what to replace. The fix is not cheap. A proper intake manifold job runs $800 to $1,500, depending on how much coolant soaked into the oil or if the heater core got clogged too. This was not a random defect. It was a calculated material downgrade, justified by a spreadsheet and quietly enforced through a supplier memo. The TSB even warns not to reuse the old gasket with Dex-Cool, knowing that the combination accelerates shrinkage and leaks. I have seen trucks in for their second intake gasket at 120,000 miles, always the same story, always the same part. If you have dealt with this failure, drop your year, model, mileage, and whether you went back to an older GM after getting burned. Your stories are the real warranty data GM never wanted to see. Dex-Cool was not just a new color in the coolant bottle. It was a chemical gamble, an organic acid technology known as OAT, that General Motors mandated for every truck starting in 1999, then locked in for the 2004 cost-down era. On paper, Dex-Cool promised 150,000 miles between service intervals. In practice, its OAT formulation reacted with air introduced by the smallest leaks, forming a brown sludge that clogged heater cores and radiator passages. The real killer was what happened at the gasket interface. Dex-Cool silicates and phosphates combined with aluminum set off galvanic corrosion. That is not theory. That is lab data from the class action lawsuit filed as In Re GM Dex-Cool Cooling System Litigation, Eastern District of Michigan, 2008. The settlement was $35 million, with General Motors agreeing to pay for repairs and coolant flushes on affected trucks. The legal documents do not mince words. They spell out how Dex-Cool, when paired with the wrong gasket or a minor air leak, accelerates shrinkage and breakdown. Plaintiff experts found alkaline sludge caked inside heater cores and intake passages after just 75,000 to 100,000 miles. The fix was a new intake gasket, a system flush, maybe a new heater core, bills that routinely topped $1,200, all to undo a chemistry shortcut that saved the factory $1 or $2 per truck. General Motors never issued a recall. Instead, they quietly updated the intake manifold gasket, part number 2780747-3A1R, and told dealers to swap it only if a leak was found. The TSB 0206010009 lays out the process but does not mention the root cause. If you have had a heater core clog or milky coolant, drop your year, model, and mileage in the comments. And if you gave up on a newer GM truck and went back to a pre-2004 model, share your story. The real warranty data is not in General Motors files, it is in the owner community. Coolant should never mix with engine oil. Yet on trucks built from 2004 to 2010 with the 6-liter Vortec engine, a valley-mounted oil cooler turned that basic rule upside down. The original design used a stainless steel core and a thick O-ring to keep coolant and oil strictly separated inside the block. After the 2004 cost reduction, GM swapped in a thinner aluminum housing and an inexpensive silicone gasket. The move saved maybe $4 per truck on the assembly line. The result, by 100,000 to 130,000 miles, was that the O-ring would flatten out or split, letting coolant seep directly into the crankcase. The first sign is usually a milky, emulsified mess on the dipstick, oil that looks more like a milkshake than engine lubricant. Bearings start to fail, oil pressure drops, and within weeks you are looking at a teardown. A proper fix means pulling the intake, removing the valley cover, and replacing the entire cooler assembly. Shop bills land between $2,000 and $4,000, and that is if you catch it before the bearings go. In 2011, GM quietly issued a redesign, restoring a stainless steel core and a higher-grade O-ring, but only for new models. No recall, no retrofit, just a silent admission in the parts catalog. If you have ever opened your oil cap and found gray sludge or faced an engine failure you could not explain, drop your year, model, mileage, and what it cost you. And if you ditched a newer GM for an older one after this, tell your story. The real data is not in GM's warranty files. It is in the hands of owners who paid the price for a $4 shortcut. Transmission cooling lines on 2004 to 2013 GM trucks came from the factory with plastic quick connect fittings, part number 12487-231. These were not some high-tech upgrade. They were a cost-down move from the old steel-threaded design, saving GM about $4 per truck. That plastic fitting sits right where the cooling line meets the radiator, baking above the exhaust manifold, cycling from sub-zero to 250 degrees and back every drive. After years of thermal stress, the plastic turns brittle. Micro-cracks form, and one day, usually at highway speed, the fitting lets go. Suddenly, all your transmission fluid is on the pavement. The transmission overheats and grenades itself in minutes. You go from a $4 part to a transmission replacement that costs $1,500 to $3,000. No warning, no mercy. The fix is as simple as it is infuriating. Aftermarket vendors sell a steel retrofit, part number 12487-232, for $12. I have had customers come in after a catastrophic failure and ask why GM did not just use the steel fitting from the start. I show them the price difference on the parts counter, $12 to avoid a 4-figure disaster. GM's own thermal cycling data, buried in the supplier spec sheets, shows the plastic quick connect starts to degrade after 1,000 heat cycles, about 80,000 to 120,000 miles in real-world use. You would think a company that builds trucks for contractors and ranchers would know better. If you have had a transmission let go because of a cracked cooler fitting, post your year, model, mileage, and what it cost you. And if you dumped your newer GM for an older truck with steel lines, let us know. The real record of these failures is not in GM's warranty files. It is in the stories owners share after the fact. Pinion seals and power steering reservoir caps, often overlooked, quietly set up major failures after 2004. General Motors reduced the interference fit on the front differential pinion seal, trimming the lip geometry by just a few microns. That tiny change meant that by 100,000 miles, seals began to walk out, leaking gear oil and letting in dust. Most owners only noticed when the differential started howling or failed outright. A rebuild could cost $800 to $1,500. The spec was not corrected until 2014 with Technical Service Bulletin SB 1401000E and part number 1817-1412, leaving hundreds of thousands of trucks with a $9 seal that could destroy a differential at highway speed. The power steering system saw its own shortcut. The reservoir cap's rubber seal thinned from 0.75 millimeters to 0.45 millimeters. Part number 1-248-5123. Air slipped past, turning fluid brown and foamy, damaging the pump and rack. A flush and new seal ran about $400, but neglect could push repairs past $1,200. Trucks with barely 110,000 miles sometimes needed full steering jobs, all because of a seal that cost less than a coffee. Small spec tweaks, big repair bills, and no warning until it was too late. This isn't normal wear, it's engineered failure, plain and simple. When GM deleted part number 12570307 in 2004, they swapped $10 savings for $1,000 repairs. Truck owners deserve better. Share your year, model, mileage, and first failure below, especially if you went back to an older GM after getting burned.